Chef JKP soldiers, a very warm welcome back to season 12. You all know the format by now. We discuss the ups and downs of the industry that brings people together, as well as food memories and the occasional funny story or two or three. You will be happy to know that we have an extended season. It means 14 episodes instead of the usual 12. You absolute lucky lot. And yes, you're very welcome. Before we talk about who and what's coming up on this season, I would like to say a massive thank you to each and every single one of you, as you're always messaging me about the show, the people that you love, the funny moments, as well as seeing all the tags on LinkedIn or YouTube and Instagram. It really means absolutely the world to me, especially when you're resharing the reels. Well, your support is everything, and we never, ever, ever take it for granted. Now, the only thing I will ask of you is if you like it, please hit that all-important subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to please leave a 5-star review, only 5 stars. At the same time, I am very happy to announce that Valrhona is this season's headline sponsor. They have been working tirelessly throughout the region for several years, educating all of us about what it takes to have the best chocolate in the world. And oh my God, I've tasted so much, it's not even funny. And I'm still not sick and tired of it. I absolutely love it. They have amazing recipes. So make sure you stick around, and we're going to be talking about all things Valrhona. Check everything out in their show notes as well, because it will be absolutely phenomenal what you're going to learn. As always, we have a stellar lineup of guests which have inspirational insights that you can apply and learn from. So, without further ado, this is what you can expect to hear from the inspirational guests during this season.
We were more nervous to make sure that our friendship didn't get affected, That was the biggest thing in all of this.
I think the world is moving towards specialization. We have a great team and there's great insight, but we wanted to specialize into something and give that to the market.
Most of the universities in England there's catered, there's canteens that you can go and rock up to and, just stand with your tray and off you go and get yourself some food. For some reason, I'd picked a university that was all self-catered.
Then you are the black sheep of the family, because I'm the youngest out of all the siblings and the cousins. My father is of 5 brothers, and my mother is 5 sisters. And imagine we are like a battalion of people, cousins, and I'm the youngest out of all of them.
I never went to culinary school, never worked in the kitchen, and I got 3 stars. So, I'll give myself that. Basically, I think, I told you why I like to cook, okay? Because my mother could not, and therefore, I love to eat, as you can tell. And I just taught myself how to cook.
It's really difficult to say, and it's not something I'm either proud of or whatever, but it amuses me that, I find myself these days actually writing scripts.
I used to remember climbing up onto the kitchen counter, about 3.5. Don't know how I got up there, because my mom used to have huge jars of Kalamata olives.
I remember not liking many, many things, and so I think that I think she was probably an amazing cook, but I limited the options.
Actually, when we start, I was in school, okay, and everything is good, but when I am 15 years, always I'm thinking to become like football player. Because this is my dreams, it's big dreams. All Egyptian people like this.
I said there is no force in this planet that will bring me to COP30. And I woke up one day and I switched on data and I saw email, you are invited to COP with 5 people from your entity.
They know the stores better than anyone, and they're going to be obviously fantastic operators because they know our brand so well. And so... yeah.
Let's go back to your original questions. And you heard the answer from the dog, the next step. And mine is a little different. Maybe just, dog look at me like, what are you going to say, John? Like, just shut your mouth, man.
So my first and the most, I would say, wonderful is still the gratin dauphinois made by my mother. And this is like a taste, until now, I will never forget. And I'm always sort of this person that will go all over the world and taste every time I have a gratin dauphinois, just to see if they come close to the one made by my mother.
I would say that, like most good chefs, it comes from the mother. So it was no different with mine, with coming from a Greek background. There was two memories for me which really stick to my mind, and that's when Mum used to bake her own bread. And back in those days, the heating, we didn't really have central heating. We sort of like had mobile heaters, and in beds we had electric blankets. So Mum used to prop up the blanket, turn on the electric blanket to full, and let the bread prove.
That's the question that I ask everyone who I interview for the restaurant, because it gives such a deep knowledge into, and it connects us all, right? So my first food memory was
an amazing lineup, as I'm sure you'll agree. Now, what have I been up to? Well, since the last time we spoke back in season 11. Oh, by the way, if you're new to the show, a very warm welcome. I always do a solo episode to give a little sneak peek into the upcoming season. So what was I up to? First of all, reporting on the blue carpet, no less, at the world's 50 best restaurants, MENA region. And the show was released. It was a historic event. And we now have a #1 new restaurant in the region, which is absolutely phenomenal. And the list itself showcases some of the very best homegrown talents. So I feel very lucky to be a part of this community. And it never feels like you're actually competing. Everyone just cheers for each other all the time, which I love. So if you want to catch that episode, go on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, and you'll obviously see what happened. And everyone was semi-well behaved, I would say. Semi-well behaved. Last time, I also mentioned that I would be discussing about my writing. I have also decided to take food writing quite seriously. So it will mean that I'm going to be writing for various different publications. And I'm very passionate about what I do with insights within hospitality, as well as, of course, write about the conversations that we have on this show. So I've started to put pen to paper, figuratively, of course, to the point that Halish Times and KT Lux magazine, shout out to you guys, have published a few of my reviews. So check them out, and we'll also link these as well. What else? Work is going really well. At the same time, I have to say, go out and see Epicure Studio by Chef Middle East. Now, what can I say about this beautiful space? It's a definitive space for all things gastronomy, a development space for chefs, restaurateurs, and it literally has everything you need to make your concept successful. However, don't take my word for it. I'll also be sharing all of the details in the show notes, okay? What else is going on? Oh, well, the Michelin Guide Gala, UAE in Dubai, is also around the corner, and those rumors are already doing the rounds. Which stars will be, handed out or taken away. We're going to get 1, 2, or 3, who knows? Equally, the Go and Milo Gala was also super eventful, with some restaurants getting 5 toques. And again, yours truly may have been mentioned in that guide, just saying. It was also super historic to have those toques in the region. Over the festive period, which seems like miles away, myself and the missus, we went to the UK, United Kingdom, saw the family, of course, visited lots of places, had a lot of food, too much food. I think we had too much food. It didn't rain, which was a miracle of life. And of course, festive is always a beautiful time of year in London. The hotel show is also on the way. That's going to be in Dubai. And we're currently in the process of getting the whole thing organized. So look out for that. The Dubai Chefs Collective will, of course, be part of the show. There's going to be some fantastic guest speakers. And also, I'm very fortunate that I get invited to a lot of restaurants, new menu launches, new openings. Plus, I think there's going to be a few more press trips along the way. So it feels like there's a lot going on in the world of food and gastronomy. And I have, by the way, been asked or been interviewed on other podcasts, which is an absolute privilege. And of course, I will be sharing all of those on socials as well. So, when it comes to this season, let's get into it. The theme is ambition. Each guest for the past 11 seasons have given us the most vulnerable and inspiring stories of how they had to fight to get to where they are today. However, in this season, we go into depth about what drives them and how grit and determination have made them succeed. In the first episode, if you remember, of season 11, I thought it would be a good idea to let all of you ask me some questions, which was a bit daunting and fun. So we're going to do it all again. We have asked the Chef JKP Podcast community to place me under the hot seat. So here we go. It's going to be Q&A time. There's no script. This is the first time that I've really seen those questions. They're going to be from all over the world, so I will do my absolute best to answer them. So here we go. First time I've seen these questions, and we're going to kick off the very first question from Elena Marquez in Barcelona. Hola. James, what's the one decision in your career that scared you the most but paid off massively? Elena, thank you for that question. I would say the biggest decision that scared me the most was actually, I would say, coming to the Middle East for the first time. I never really knew about it before, and I didn't educate myself before I came, but it was the best decision I ever made, because not only did I learn so much from a culinary perspective, a hospitality perspective in the region, I met my wife here, and my career, I would say, flourished because of being here. So it was very scary because traveling away and all of those sorts of things, but it was absolutely, the best thing I ever did. So yeah. Okay, next one, Khalid. So young restaurateur in Sharjah from the United Arab Emirates. So how do you know when a restaurant concept is actually strong or just sounds good on paper? So actually strong or good on paper. I would say when it's strong, first of all, if we take the menu and culinary concepts, when you're building anything like that, you have to play it safe. So it doesn't matter what type of cuisine, just make sure that the guests are going to understand your menu. Don't take too many risks straight away. You may have 25, 30% of that menu is for you to play around with. That's really key. And at the same time, make sure that you're catering to your market. Make sure you understand who you're going to be catering for, and also that the market is not saturated in that space. So what do I mean by that? If you're going to open a Greek restaurant, for example, but there's already another 7 Greek restaurants in the same area, then that's not going to work, right? So just make sure you really do your research or your due diligence to make sure that it's going to work in the space required. At the same time, my advice is don't make the restaurant too big. The way things are going now, you want things that are smaller, much more homegrown. For me, this is the absolute key to success. Yeah, that's what I would say. Next one is Daniel from Melbourne. What's the one kitchen culture rule you refuse to compromise on? For me, the one kitchen rule You know, throughout the years, this is a really amazing question. And throughout the years, I've already and placed lots of rules on culture and things like this. Of course, to be disciplined, to be fast, working on time, respect the produce. But actually, the most important kitchen culture is team first. The team is everything. You cannot do anything without them. So we always, for me, that is absolutely everything, is about the team. And, as a leader, you have to ensure that you put your people first, understand them, listen to them at all times, make sure that you're also putting across your vision, that they are aligned with you so they really understand what's going on, and also don't be scared to make your team better than you. That's your job. If you think about a coach or in sports or that sort of thing, your job is to teach the team, drive the team to be better than you. That's really important, because it means you've done your job. So for me, it's always team first. Next one. So we have a student from Mumbai. Ananya, how are you? How important is emotional intelligence in the kitchen compared to technical skill? What a question. How important is emotional intelligence in the kitchen compared to technical skill? I think I think they are both mega important. I mean, the funny thing is, you can learn technical skill, but some people may not necessarily learn emotional intelligence. And they both go hand in hand, I think. But especially nowadays, emotional intelligence is incredibly important, far more than technical skill. As I said, that can be taught, whether you read, whether you go online, whether you're watching videos, whatever it is, you can learn that technical skill and then you get your hands on. But being emotionally intelligent, not just in kitchens, in anything, I think is incredibly important. So great question, Ananya. Thank you for that. Next one, Patrick from London. So when you evaluate a new restaurant opportunity, what are the first 3 numbers you look at? So evaluating a new restaurant opportunity, I think. So the first 3 numbers that I look at. First of all, overhead or running costs, hidden costs, and the overall investment. Because, first of all, the overheads and the labor costs and that sort of thing, of course, are super important, and you need to understand those. But the things that will sort of trip you up are the hidden costs. So what are the hidden costs, James? Okay, disposables. So your foil, backpack bags, tissue paper, all of that kind of stuff. Gloves that us chefs love to use. Menus, all of these things. The laundry. There are so many hidden costs. The company that takes out the garbage, grease trap cleaning, the company that cleans the exhausts on a quarterly basis. All of these things really add up. So get those 3 aligned. Very, very important. Next one, Rainer, pastry chef from Beirut. So is being a perfectionist a strength or a weakness in today's kitchen? Perfectionist is a strength or a weakness? It's a very good question. Look, I think it all depends on the chef, because Rainer, what could be perfection to you could not be perfection to me. So it's all very subjective, in all honesty, and it's neither a strength nor is it a weakness. And also perfectionism is something that you always want to get right. I think especially when it comes to 1, 2-star or 3-star Michelin kitchens, you're constantly chasing that perfection. And it's not easy at the same time to constantly stay on top of the game. It can be daunting. The pressure can get too much. So, as I said, it's very subjective. Even when you're hosting a dinner party and you're doing a lasagna or a tiramisu, you want it to be perfect, right? But for you may have thought, okay, it's absolutely perfect, everything is incredible, but for your guests, it could be okay, it could be nice. And those of you who know me, when you say my food is nice, it means it's horrendous. So, it's a great question, but I think it's very subjective. I don't think it's a weakness, personally. I mean, if I think about it really, strength or weakness, I think it's a really good question. You've got me on that one. But I think if you're talking about as a chef, you're always chasing that perfection, aren't you? Is it healthy to chase perfection all the time? See, that could be the weakness. Great question. Thank you. Jason from Singapore. How much does design really impact the success of a dining concept? Now, if you asked me that question 20 years ago, I would have said not much. But nowadays, in the social media world, and everything is online, I think it's super important. The design is super important. I tell you why. Because when you go to a restaurant, and I'm obsessed with restaurants, by the way. Same as Raj from Marmalata. Shout out to Raj. Everything is like, it's like reading, like going into a beautiful restaurant is like an encyclopedic book. There are 3,000 pages, and every detail is a page. So when you go in, how does the exterior look from the outside? How does the menu look when you go online? How do you get greeted by the host or hostess? What do the seats look like? How's the lighting? All of these things are super important. The music, the sound of the music, where are the speakers placed? Are they right by your ear? There are so many things, and it is absolutely key to success. Of course, you know that the humans have to give it the soul, so the way you're served, of course, the food, the drinks, the ambience, but it really does impact the success of the restaurant, especially in this day and age. It's massively important. Do not underestimate design. And actually, a few seasons ago, we had a restaurant designer, and he was telling me how every detail, they're just like chefs, designers. They want to have everything perfect, so it's super key. It really is. Thank you, Jason. Okay, now, next one. Mariam Al-Kabi from Abu Dhabi. What advice would you give to someone who wants to build a culinary brand, not just cook? Oh. What advice would you give to someone who would build a culinary brand? Well, first of all, Mariam, I think you have to, in this day and age, not only is it difficult to stand out, you also really have to be yourself, because and what I mean be yourself, it's very difficult not to copy somebody that you look up to. So I think the most important thing is to find your niche within culinary, whether you're baking, bread, muffins, whether you want to talk about fish, whether you're just going to be a food blogger, whether you're going to be a chef that does sort of close-up shots on TikTok. Find something that really ignites you, something that you are super passionate about when it comes to gastronomy. And start off small. That's the key. At the same time, when you're building that brand, you have to build trust. So what does that mean? It means that you have to be consistent. Don't post one day and then not post for ages, and then again you're posting. Within the world of culinary and social media, especially nowadays, everything moves at a rapid pace. So just make sure that you have your bank of recipes or videos and just start to push them out. It's going to take some time to build that brand, but the most important thing is to be consistent. Make sure you put that passion within, and look, be prepared to fail. What does that mean? It means that you're going to keep posting and it's not going to be picked up. You're going to keep posting and it's not going to be picked up. And that might happen for a while, but then eventually you will be picked up and then momentum builds, and that's really important. But you have to do the hard yards. So really look into that. And by the way, it's not easy. It's I would say only 1% of people succeed when they're building a culinary brand. Only 1% go viral very, very quickly. The rest slog it out, and they really push themselves. So, but good luck. Good luck. Just be consistent. Next one. Thomas Becker from Berlin. Wow, nice to see that we've got people from Berlin listening and watching. That's cool. Do you think fine dining needs to reinvent itself to survive the next decade? Whoa! What a punchy question. I think fine dining is always reinventing itself, Thomas. If you look at fine dining 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, fine dining is always reinventing itself. So the thing is, when I say food as memories, I really mean it. So when you talk about fine dining and you talk about meals that you're going to have once in a lifetime, these chefs work extremely hard to be creative and to give you that experience. And we have a huge unlimited resource of creativity. And I'm not talking about AI. Okay, yes, we know AI is coming and it's already here, and embrace it, but chefs are artisans, right? So they're artists. They want to impress and they want to think, how can I cook a cauliflower 10 different ways on one dish to impress my diners? So I think the reinvention will naturally happen, and it will continue to happen. So I'm excited to see what's going to, what's around the corner. But I think fine dining will survive. It's just going to keep tweaking itself. Next one, Chloe from Chloe Martin. So you're a social media strategist, but you live in Paris. Bonjour, comment ça va? So how do chefs balance authenticity with the pressure to create viral content? I don't think chefs give themselves pressure to create viral content per se. I think that's more sort of content creators. Chefs will either, especially what I've seen, they'll either do two things. They'll either be on camera talking about something funny that happened to them, that could be a viral moment, let's say, or a negative moment that ends up being viral. But when it comes to creating viral content with chefs, I don't think they put themselves under pressure. I just think they're excited if it does go viral, because most of the time it's an accident. You know, they didn't do it on purpose. And I would say most of the chefs that I know and cooks that I know, they just love to showcase their skill, you know. And even if you think about the very best chefs in the world, all they really want to do is to show you a beautiful plate of food or how they're cooking something. They're not necessarily thinking about, oh, it's going to go viral. So, you know, and if it does, then it's just, you know, by a stroke of luck that it's got picked up in the right way, and then it's got momentum. So, yeah, to be honest, I think chefs love to be as authentic as possible. I don't think they give themselves pressure when it comes to sort of creating viral content at all. They give themselves pressure, internal pressure, to be the best that they can be. I know that I certainly have done that, and I do that still. So yeah, but it's a great question. And also your social media, so of course. Next one, Yusuf from Doha. What is the fastest way for a young chef to stand out in a busy brigade? You know what, Yusuf? Go above and beyond. Learn. Be a sponge. Ask questions. Go to every single section. Watch the chef in that kitchen who is running rings around everybody else, and watch that person, stand next to them, work with them, soak everything up. Because for me, that's the only way. Go above and beyond. Study, read, become obsessed by food. That is how you will stand out, honestly. Again, not in the beginning. What did I do? I think I was that annoying chef that was always asking questions. Why? And I was just always watching who's the quickest, who's the best in the kitchen. And it wasn't always easy. But that's how I learned as much as I could. And when I went home, I was just reading and watching anything to do with restaurants or chefs, because I'm still obsessed. But I think that's the way to do it now. Don't just go home and fall asleep. Like, you know, just immerse yourself in the world of dining. It's really important, but you will succeed if you do that. Next, Isabella from Milan Restaurant PR. Do awards truly drive bookings, or are they more for validation? You know, we get that question all the time. Are awards important? Do they drive bookings? Well, look, let's reverse engineer. If it's about pure industry validation, of course, it's amazing to be recognized. Do they drive bookings? Well, there is something called the Michelin effect. So everybody knows about the Michelin guide. And if you're involved, or if you get named in that restaurant or in that guide, for the first time, your business will go up usually 20 to 30, 35%. So they do drive bookings. They are important. I would say more so the global awards. So the Michelin Guide, Go and Milo, 50 Best, Best Chef Award. These types of global awards are the ones that will really drive the revenue, and people will come and travel to you. So they are important. Thank you, Isabella. Next one. Adam Green from Toronto. Culinary school lecturer. All right, Adam. What's something that culinary schools don't teach that they absolutely should? Oh, brilliant question. So, in my opinion, culinary schools, you need to teach, of course, respect everything, everyone, how to dress, be on time, grooming, all of that kind of stuff, which I know that you do. But the other thing is, time management is something that comes up time and time again. That students who have just come out of culinary school are a bit too slow, and slow in the sense that they don't have a sense of urgency. When they're doing the preparation, there's no urgency about them. When they're cutting, when they're walking, when they're doing things, the sense of urgency and time management is something that needs to be ingrained into the students. So, when they're doing tasks, put more pressure on them. Because what I found is that I did 3 years at hospitality school. And when I came out and I went into a professional kitchen, I had to forget everything and start again. So, and also put them in real life situations. Take the students, immerse them once, twice a week in a very difficult and challenging kitchen situation. Put them with some of the best chefs in the world. They'll learn fast. So, yeah. Good luck, Adam, with all your students, by the way. Next one, Sanjay, hotel operator in Dubai. What's the biggest disconnect between chefs and hotel management? I think the biggest disconnect is that chefs, don't forget, we're artists. Hotel management are, of course, driving the revenue. And so, again, chefs, you need to have the conversation with the hotel management. Hotel management, you need to be open to listening to the chefs, vice versa. Very much like a marriage, you have to listen to each other. You have to compromise. You have to understand each other. I think, again, the biggest disconnect could be anything like food cost, for example. We want to get the very best produce, but the price is super high. At the same time, I think there's also a big issue at the moment with the huge amount of what can I say? The huge amount of dietary requirements that we have nowadays has placed a huge amount of pressure on all operations. So, and again, I've been put in positions where the hotel management think that we are Harry Potter and we can do something out of thin air, when in fact it takes a long period of time. So that's something also that we need to really take into consideration. Next one. Lucia Fernandez, food journalist from Buenos Aires. James, when you interview global chefs, what separates the great from the legendary? What a loaded question. Thank you, Lucia, for that amazing question. And I can tell that you're a journalist. What separates the great from the legendary? I have to say, the legendary chefs, they really have a huge presence about them. And when I've had a few in the studio, you can feel that presence. And at the same time, they take radical ownership about mistakes and about things that they've done wrong. That for me is incredible to see, that not only do they put the blame and pressure on themselves, they're humble enough to admit when they've made massive mistakes. And also, with some of the greats that I've interviewed, it's amazing just to see how caring they are about their team. They may have had a really hard persona, but all they wanted in the end was to make that specific person or their team into the most inspirational chefs. So I think that's what makes the great from legendary. Thank you, Lucia. Okay, next one. Mohammed from Riyadh. So our neighbors. How do you handle team members who are talented but difficult personalities? We all know a few of those, Mohammed, don't we? Very talented, but their personalities are also a bit, difficult. For me, honesty is the best policy. And you can tell them that they're amazingly talented, but also, who wants to work with somebody who's talented that has a difficult personality disorder? Nobody does, right? When you go to work, in my opinion, when you go to work, you want to spend time with people who are almost like your extended family, right? So, and you don't want to have like a bad apple. So it's really important just to have that conversation and say, listen, you're very talented, but you're incredibly difficult, and we'll either find a way to work together or thank you very much. Time to go. It's straightforward, that's really key. But also the leader has to shape that kitchen culture. There's a lot of talk now about previous famous kitchens that have had abuse or still are abusing their staff, and of course it's wrong, but that comes from the top. If you remember Alex Dilling, 2-star Michelin chef, that the culture arrives from the very, very top. So it's the leader who drives the conversation and drives that culture. So, and if there are difficult personalities, it's up to the leader to cut that personality a little bit and sort of, put them back in their box. So yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you, Mohammed, for that question. Next one, Emily from KL, Kuala Lumpur. Also, you're a podcaster. Welcome, welcome. How do you prepare for a podcast interview so it feels natural but powerful? Well, Emily, I do a huge amount of research on every single guest that comes onto the show because it's my job and I want to make sure that I am fully prepared. And at the same time, I want to get as much information and value from that guest as possible. So it's really important for me to give the guest an amazing space to be able to talk freely and trust me. Because if you notice, during my shows, I don't speak at all. I don't speak much. I ask very little questions, but the guest always talks and talks and talks a lot. And that's because I want you, lovely listeners and viewers, to get as much information from this guest as possible. Not only so that you learn, so that I learn, and also that the guest feels valued because it's, they're excited to be here. They're a bit nervous at times. And also we have a little sort of 15-minute chat before just to make them feel really comfortable. And I do things like making sure that they have water in front of them and all of that kind of stuff, because that's also a, really important thing, is that the guest who has given their time to be on a show, they have to feel valued. So the hospitality pieces go a long way. Next one, Alex Alex, who's a consultant in Moscow. What trends in hospitality are overhyped right now? Oh, not a hospitality trend, but I would say Labubu is something that I would like to see the back of. But in terms of hospitality trends, I think I'm hands up. I'm one for this. Dry ice. Everybody loves dry ice, but we've seen a lot of it. I think that can go away. What other trends I think that are overhyped? Well, a lot of people would say truffle. A lot of people would say, why are you putting it? So, and truffle is an amazing ingredient done correctly, but not put on absolutely everything. So yeah, that's the only things I can think of for me personally. And then other hospitality trends, only because I'm shy. When the entire team come to the table and start singing happy birthday in your face. But yeah, other people love it. So Natalie Brooks from Cape Town. You're a nutrition coach, okay. Where do you see the balance between indulgence and wellness in modern dining? Great question. Everybody's doing calorie counting, talking about macros, protein, that sort of thing. And we know in the past, especially sort of modern dining or fine dining has been very heavy. So lots of cream, lots of butter, lots of dairy. But I think now, with the different techniques that we have, chefs have found a balance. And I'll give you an example. If you take a modern fine dining menu, most chefs will weigh every single ingredient on each plate. So what does that mean? By the time you get to a main course, you're not going to be able to have a 250 gram steak, right? No, because you've already had 10 courses. So a lot of what we do is we really go down to the gram when it comes to portioning every single thing. And also we're lightening the load. We're not using so much cream. We're not using so much butter now. There are different substitutes. And also there are some amazing concepts that are, taking dairy out, taking onions out, garlic, mushrooms, all of these things that make you feel heavy. So there is a lot of balance, especially nowadays. And I was talking earlier on about dietary requirements. This is a reason for it, because we want things to be lighter. As much as me personally love to see 12 different breads at the beginning of a meal, it's just not possible, So what would I prefer? Then, well, I would prefer a three-day fermented sourdough bread, something which is light and is not going to hurt me so much, So great question. Next one. Omar, chef de partie. Oh, this is a brilliant question, Omar. How do you bounce back after a brutal service that didn't go to plan? Now, we've all had horrible kitchen services so if you're not from the trade, you call it going down. And if you go down in a service, it's like the worst thing imaginable, because if one thing goes wrong, then another thing goes wrong, and then everything goes downhill. Hence, calling it going down. But how do you bounce back? I think be analytical. Take ownership. Yes, I made the mistake. Think about why it happened. Were you not prepared? Were you stressed? Of course you're stressed. You're in a kitchen, right? What went wrong? You need to be really analytical and think, okay, swallow the mistake, put your hand up, maybe go to one of the seniors and ask, like, what can I improve on? But do not, please, do not, and I'm talking from experience, go to, go back home, then in your bed, and you're thinking and thinking and thinking about it. Don't do that. Just rest up, put it to bed, move on, get better. Don't keep it inside because it's like drinking poison. Don't do that. Just accept that you made the mistake. Hands up, learn and move on. That's what I would say. That's the best and quickest way to bounce back. All right? Good luck. Good luck. We've all been there, Omar. Thank you for that question. Okay, Freya from Copenhagen. Hello. So, is sustainability now a necessity or still a luxury for restaurants? Look, sustainability is a must. It's not a luxury. It's a must. In everything that we do, sustainability is an absolute necessity, starting from the farmers, the growers, to recycling. There are now so many tools online that can show restaurants and kitchens how to be the very best when it comes to sustainability practices. So for me, it's a must. It's not, it's like walking, it's not a luxury. It's very important. It's very, very important. And the best thing is we have so many tools to learn and to implement. So yeah, lovely question, really. Carlos, all the way from Brazil. Carlos Mendes. If you had to build a restaurant with half the usual budget, where would you spend and where would you save? Now, Carlos, you're a food entrepreneur, restaurateur, so I know that you would save on the kitchen and make it as small as possible, right? To have more bums on seats, right? Which is again not a bad strategy. But if I had to build a restaurant with half a budget, I think it's just about being smart with the menu, and I think that's the other one, is so many people, they're just not smart. Where can they use one ingredient 4 times? What can we do to be extra smart with the kitchen space provided? That's honestly, you have to look at the concept. And if you know that you have a smaller budget, think about the quick wins. If you have a small kitchen and a small team, don't make a menu that has 50 items on there. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I see it so many times. And it gets me quite annoyed and upset because you could do a beautiful restaurant in a small kitchen and a small concept with 10 or 12 items that are done perfectly. And you would gain so much more from doing that rather than putting the front of house team and the back of house team under huge amounts of stress. That's what I would do. Next one, Hassan from Cairo. What's the one habit that young chefs should build early that will change their entire career? Be disciplined, be punctual, be on time. Honestly. That is the key to everything. Time management, being early to work. That will change everything. You will really understand that people will just respect you far more. If you're on time, if you manage your time, that is really key. I can't emphasize that enough. The rest will come, but this is something that will absolutely build your career. All right, next one. Victoria Lane from New York, and you are a luxury brand consultant. What makes a chef brand premium rather than popular? Premium. Well, it could be a number of things. Is it premium ingredients? Is it other premium brands that you're working with? Frying pans, all of that kind of stuff. And also, is it that you're working in? Or it could be, that you're working with only luxury brands. I think that's what you're trying to say. What makes a chef brand premium? For me personally, yeah. And when you're talking about premium and luxury, it's a very fine line, right? It's a very small bracket. So, you have to compete at a very elevated level. So what makes a chef brand premium? Yeah, I think, again, it's all about the partners that you're working with and that they are all aligned. Because, for example, you could be the caterer of Rolls-Royce, right? But you cannot, and no disrespect to McDonald's, but you can't be serving McDonald's to working with a luxury brand, because it doesn't really match, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you're serving, how could you be very extreme with this? You could potentially have Rolls-Royce, and then you want to serve, let's say, a McDonald's type burger, but with truffle and caviar and lobster. It has to align. So make sure that you're working with your premium partners. That's what I would say. Cheeky question. Rashid, street food operator. Can street food ever compete with fine dining in terms of global recognition? 100% yes. 100% yes. You look at J-Fi in Bangkok, and she turned this beautiful crab omelette into a dish that everybody in the world will wait 2, 3, 4 hours to eat. And street food vendors, man, you guys are incredible. And oh my God, yeah, there's so many incredible, beautiful street foods that do deserve global recognition, and it's happening. If you think about, the world of streaming, and for example, Netflix, they've done, I think, nearly 10 series on different types of street food, whether it's pizza, whether it's tacos. There is so much. So, of course, global recognition is required. 100%. And it does compete with fine dining. Next one. Laura, HR director from London Town. What's the biggest hiring mistake restaurant owners can make? For me, there are a couple of things when restaurant owners are not hiring correctly. First of all, when somebody has a CV that reads that they've worked in various places for 6 months at a time. So just because a chef or a restaurant manager has worked in 12 different restaurants over a very short period of time, doesn't mean they're going to be any good. For me, it's very suspicious, I would say. And also, again, this word that I always go back to, due diligence. Have you done your research on that person? Does it add up? Have you done the reference checks? Because a lot of restaurant owners and chefs were desperate to get people in quickly because of the nature of the business. But the mistakes that we do make because we do those things so quickly is that we just don't do research on that person. So yeah, make sure you do that. Okay, so Takumi from Osaka. What does discipline mean to you in today's kitchen culture? For me, discipline it's not just about, you know, in kitchen culture. It means everything to me. And as I said, I'm going to go on and on and on and on. Be disciplined with your time. Be disciplined with the way you treat your team. Be disciplined with how you respect the ingredients. Look, if you look at Japanese cooking and the way that the Japanese treat ingredients and the way they do everything, in fact, everything is about respect. I wish we could do that in every single kitchen. Not only to respect our teams, but to be disciplined in everything that we do. And be disciplined in the way we treat people in a, again, respectful way. I can't tell you enough how many things I've seen in my life when it comes to kitchens and how people have been treated really badly. But at the same time, I can't tell you how many times I've seen chefs just not respect time or respect ingredients or respect the people that they're working with or respect the customers. But again, it all comes down to discipline, you know, and if you're disciplined as a chef, as a restaurateur, if you're disciplined, you will succeed because you will have people who trust and believe in you. What's the opposite side of that? If you're not disciplined, well, you'll go to a job that you hate. You'll be jumping from job to job. You're not going to be successful in what you do. So yeah, it's really important, you know. So discipline is everything to me. And is it difficult to be disciplined? Of course it is. But it helps you to push on. It helps you to get somewhere in life, you know. Even with the podcast, I'm disciplined. There's a way that I do things. I turn up on time. I'm not late. I make sure that everything is aligned. I make sure that, you know, the guests are happy. There's lots of things that happen, and I make sure that the things are done to a certain standard. If those standards are not met, it's not good. So yeah, it's important. Thank you, Takumi. Okay, next one. Noura. Food content creator. All right, from Dubai. Is the future of food media independent or still controlled by big publications? Phew. I think more and more and more, the way I see it now, there is so much independent food media around. So much. It's not even funny. You know, controlled, you know, big publications, you know, the only thing big publications I could think of are like magazines as an example. That's still very much controlled by big publications, but independent food media is everywhere. You know, you as a person could be an independent food media when you're doing your TikToks and stuff like that, no? But it's everywhere at the moment, and it's only going to get even more independent, I think, as time goes on. In all honesty, and it will only be the 5% that will be controlled by massive, big publications. All right, next one, Gabrielle from Mexico. When do you know it's time to walk away from a concept? Oh my gosh. When do you know it's time to walk away from a concept as a chef, as a restaurateur? Is it about money? You know, do you walk away when you're not busy, as an example, or, you know, when costs are astronomical and you can no longer pay the rent? I mean, look, there's something happening in the UK at the moment where taxes are so high that the most amazing restaurants are having to close because they just can't afford to keep paying the extortionate amount of tax. You know, and it's very sad, really sad, because again, restaurants are somewhere where memories are made, you meet your friends, family, there's birthdays, there's all sorts of amazing celebrations that are made in these beautiful spaces. But when the government is having to push taxes through the roof, as a business owner, you have to make a call. And at the same time, as a chef, if you're wanting to get some beautiful produce, but the restaurant is not able to pay suppliers, this is very tough. This is very tough from all counts, and we've all been there. So, it's a very difficult question to answer, Gabrielle, because there are so many variables when it comes to walking away from concepts. It could be that you're walking away because the culture is toxic as well. So, but only you, in your heart of hearts, can truly know when to walk away from a concept. All right, and last but not least, Sophia from Stockholm. What's the hardest personal lesson hospitality has taught you? What an ending question, flippin' heck. What's the hardest personal lesson hospitality has taught you? The hardest lesson I was taught, I think it's basically you have to be thick-skinned. That was one. To be very, very thick-skinned, especially in the height of stress, when things are not going well, and certain chefs are sort of screaming at you. And the other lesson is sacrifice. During my formative years of learning how to be a chef and working 16, 18, 20 hours a day at times, and then when you're missing birthdays or family occasion, Christmas, New Year's, general celebrations, weddings, that you sacrifice a lot. It's a tough lesson, but you're sacrificing it because you're building a future for yourself and for your family. So that's a toughie. It was, yeah. Thank you, Sophia. That was a great question to end on. Hardest personal lesson hospitality has taught you. Wow. Well, that's so far, been quite tough, but really amazing questions. Well, gang, I have to say that's a wrap for our introductory episode to season 12. I'm really excited to see your reaction to the upcoming season. As always, don't be shy to message me and let me know the feedback, as it helps to make this show a success. And all we want to do is to keep growing the show. Don't forget, if you want to support us, we have the exclusive thermos flasks. Grab them, show your support. Very important. They'll be in the show notes. Again, to the sponsors, a massive thank you to our partners, Valrhona, for making this show possible. Enjoy the upcoming season. Now, the big question is, have you subscribed to the show? And if not, why not? Have you been naughty? You haven't pressed that all-important button on all podcast platforms, or subscribe on YouTube? Make sure you do. I'll be watching. To my culinary brothers and sisters, keep spreading the word. Last thing, if you know someone who could learn from the guests on the show, the only thing I'm going to ask you is share it. As you never know, these conversations might inspire someone to take action and be the very best at what they do. Thank you for listening. As always, you are an absolute legend. This is Chef JKP signing out. Until next time, food is memories.